Hello and welcome everyone. Come on in. We're really excited to have everybody joining us today for our nonprofit networking at noon convening. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Sonia Blake. I'm President and CEO of the Valley Economic Alliance, and we are thrilled to have such a group of nonprofit organizations hopping on right now so that we can have a really good conversation about where we are, what we need, and where we want to go from here. I want to encourage everyone to introduce yourself in the chat. Feel free to put your name and your organization and just introduce yourself, put your contact information there if you'd like to do a little bit more networking with folks as things go on. I am joined by several colleagues that I want to introduce to you before I go ahead and do too much of introductory commentary. So in addition to myself, from the Alliance, we have our board member, Marianne Haverhill, who is Executive Director of the Community Foundations of the Valleys. Thank you for being with us, Marianne. And we also have with us Alex Acuña of Valley Nonprofit Resources, another wonderful partner and resource for Valley nonprofits. And we have Lydia Floyd with Hands for Hope with us this morning, and each of these dynamic
From the Alliance.
CEOs.
Where are the Alliance?
Oh yeah. Hi, Magdalena. And Sharon, would you please mute folks as they come in? We're thrilled to be able to have these leaders help facilitate this conversation. We're also really super thrilled to have a wonderful partner from the California Community Foundation on with us, whom I'll introduce, and he'll be able to make some comments so you can get to know the landmark work that they're doing, especially some of the great things in the Valley. So for those of you who may not know, the Valley Economic Alliance was founded 30 years ago, and we are one of the nonprofits in the San Fernando Valley, serving 5 cities from Calabasas through the San Fernando Valley of the city of Los Angeles to Burbank, Glendale, and the beautiful city of San Fernando. These 5 cities together, we pull together in regional partnership to help each of us to build our economy, to help us strengthen our workforce, to help us promote tourism, and to otherwise just help us strengthen and build our region. We're thrilled to be one of the partners on the nonprofit convening that the Community Foundation of the Valleys has done for the past few years, and hopefully some of you have been to that. It has hundreds of businesses that have participated, which has been a phenomenal benefit to our nonprofit community, and we're really thrilled about that and being able to augment that with these additional convenings throughout the year. We've also been very busy and working very hard through the wildfires with our wildfire nonprofit webinar. One of the very first organizations to move into action, the Valley Economic Alliance was there, and we hosted 100 nonprofits and as well as a couple hundred small businesses right after the fires, the onset of the fires, to make sure that we would be able to connect to resources. And some great things came out of that convening. We were able to help some nonprofits to share resources, share information, to be able to connect the dots in a way that's so important. So for all these reasons and so many more, I'm just thrilled that we're all here today to be able to do that once again. We need to keep the momentum going. We need to take care of one another. We're the ones who are the boots on the ground taking care of our communities, especially those who are most in need. And we need to help take care of each other, to share best practices, to identify problems and challenges that we can help solve together, to capitalize and leverage opportunities and resources that we may know about and we can share with one another. So together we can really strengthen our nonprofit community. This is incredibly important because many of the business resource centers in our area, first of all, in the Valley, there are very few business resource centers. We're thankful to have the Valley Nonprofit Resource Center at CSUN as a leader and represented here today, also whom we'll hear from. But there are more resources in the LA basin than there are in the Valley, like some downtown LA and maybe some West Side. For businesses, for nonprofits to operate as a thriving business, an effective and efficient business, there are very few resource centers that will come alongside. There are these small business development centers through the federal government, but they're not poised to help nonprofits and their specific types of distinct accounting and distinct way of managing people and the other kinds of distinctions that there are for nonprofits. So that's why I'm so thrilled that the Valley Economic Alliance has a business assistance center, which does help nonprofits. And many of you are enrolled in that program. If you find that you are in need of more support in terms of how are you going to do your fundraising plan, how are you going to do your strategic planning, and how are you going to do your program plans and program evaluations, then I encourage you to, I'll pop information in the chat so that you can come alongside and get some information and some support through our Business Assistance Center, because it's one of the few that does serve nonprofits. So with all that said, I'm going to put the relevant the relevant links into the chat as soon as I pause for breath and introduce our next speaker. But I do want to frame up what we're here to do today. So we're here today to really hear from you as nonprofits. So I'm hoping that many of you will, answer questions in the chat when we put out a discussion question, that you'll come off mute and come onto video and share some responses when we put out discussion questions for your consideration and participation. No need to be shy. If you have a question, it's likely that someone else may also have that very same question, and there may be someone right here on the call who can help get an answer to your question and solve a problem that you're dealing with right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear from our guest speaker, and then we're going to go into 3 10-minute facilitated conversations. The first conversation is going to be around program issues. So we at nonprofits, of course, our bottom line tends to be our program, our mission, and how effectively we're fulfilling it. So program issues like starting a nonprofit, operating a nonprofit, measuring our impact, or operating programs of the nonprofit anyway, measuring impact of our programs, fulfilling our mission. That'll be the first conversation that we'll dive into. And if you have questions about that or concerns, just start thinking about those now. The second facilitated conversation will be around marketing and fundraising. And that's where we'll be looking at digital marketing, mostly like social media and email marketing. And we'll also be talking about fundraising, like the annual fund, major gifts, planned giving, events and sponsorships, these kinds of topics. Are you experiencing challenges? Are you finding some great successes? We want to share those with the group. And then the third facilitated conversation will be on administration of nonprofits. And that's where we'll talk about governance, like issues relating to the board and policies, strategic planning, HR, facilities, budgeting, et cetera, et cetera. So this is kind of the framing. And then at the end, we'll leave for open discussion, and we'll be able to go deeper into any particular topics, and then talk about next steps and when we might want to meet together and how we want to go from here as a group of nonprofits supporting one another in the San Fernando Valley region. So with that, I want to introduce our guest speaker today. We are incredibly fortunate to have a very visionary and committed funder in the California Community Foundation. And we're very fortunate to have our very own representative for the Valley, Luis Rodriguez, and a wonderful representative he is. So Luis supports the public policy and civic engagement team at California Community Foundation in a variety of different efforts, including statewide. They did a COVID outreach program, regional recovery hubs, civic engagement. Prior to CCF, Luis was with Tree People a wonderful Valley nonprofit organization focused on environment. He attended our very own CSUN, so he is a Valley guy, a Matador, and he has a dual master's degrees. He did some master's work in cultural studies as well as in urban planning from University of Southern California. So incredibly inspired, committed, and devoted foundation executive. And it's incredibly important that you're here today to hear from Luis so that you can get a sense of what the foundation is up to and how you might get involved. Luis, would you please go ahead and share with us your thoughts for us today? Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much, Sonia, and just on behalf of the entire foundation here, I just want to thank and call out some folks, Sonia, Dr. Acuña, and Marianne. When I got this position that I'll tell you about in just a minute, I reached out to folks, and you were so quick to have a conversation with me. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the areas that we're talking about. There is this infrastructure already in place for bringing folks together and have conversations, and so much legwork that my teammates are doing is setting up these kinds of spaces. So just really appreciate that. I want to update folks on a couple of things that have happened with the California Community Foundation in the last 3 or 4 months. I get asked very often, what is a community foundation?
I'm right with you.
There's two things that I would highlight, and I'll drop our website in the chat. Do familiarize yourself with our work. A couple of things that we're known to do is you can think of us as the first line of defense for the nonprofit sector, right? Not just my community foundation, but the idea of community foundations as a whole. My particular community foundation is very much focused on LA County. And with our new framework that we just launched about 3 months ago, which I'll also drop in the chat, we're making a commitment to different geographies throughout LA County, and my role will be to connect and uplift the work that's happening in the San Fernando Valley, Santa Clarita, and 818. I think of it as 818, 747, and 661, right? So those are the communities that I am tasked with uplifting. I dropped our framework in the chat for folks to check out, page 7. What our priorities are going to be within those geographies are things like basic needs, building economic opportunity, creating safe, resilient, connected communities, ensuring communities have a voice, so uplifting community voice, and then also thinking about how we support and heal and renewal. And then the last thing that I'll share here before I pass it back to you, Sonia, is that we are definitely in a moment, right? There's a lot of things coming together, and we know that this is how this is how history is made in moments like these. So we're definitely in a unique time, and I think that leaning on each other is going to be what not just sets us up, but really helps us move forward. We know that our nonprofit partners are dealing with things like federal funding cuts, right? There's a lot of economic insecurity, which is causing a lot of our donors to think twice about how much they want to and are able to provide to the nonprofit sector. But we know that leaning on each other is what's going to get us forward. We're exploring on how we uplift community. We're thinking about creating community councils. So more to come. I dropped my email in the chat. We'll be creating infrastructure that supports the entire region and not just individual nonprofits. So I invite folks to email me, to stay connected with me, add me on LinkedIn, continue joining these webinars that we have here. And I'll pass it back to you, Sonia. Thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Luis. And just want to commend you and thank you for your amazing response to the wildfire and just convening, and coalescing a variety of support for our nonprofits and our communities to deliver that help, and for really not forgetting the Valley in that, but considering the Valley and making sure that we were a part of that, and just really appreciate your accessibility. I'm so thankful that we have your contact info and folks can continue to get to know better and see how we can create some synergies here. Yeah, thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it. Well, great. So at this point, we've got some good resources already in the chat. We've got some information from our 3 partners there. And I want to go ahead and introduce you to our three others who will be facilitating conversation for us today. But before we do that, let's get a little more interaction. If you just joined on the call today, welcome to our nonprofit networking at noon. Go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat if you'd like to do that. And I'll go ahead and throw up a quick poll here on who's in the room. Tell us about yourself. So who's here with us today? We're here talking about nonprofits, and we want to know, we're building a community here. We want to know, with nonprofits, we have so many different stakeholders, right? We've got our board members, we've got executive directors, we've got staff members and other types of volunteers. And let's just first get a sense so that our speakers, as they're facilitating conversation, will be able to get a little bit of a better sense of who's here. We'll do a couple polls hopefully later on in the program, but just to get a sense so far. I see so far we have 80% of the people on the call participating. It's a quick one question poll. We want to know who's in the room. What's your role with the organization? Are you a board member, executive director, staff member, or volunteer? I'm going to go ahead and close the poll in just 5 more seconds. Give you a chance to get on there. Sometimes it can be challenging to navigate around the Zoom room, but we're getting used to it, right? We're getting used to it. Okay, fantastic. With 85% of our participants participating, any guesses? I wonder if people kind of know who shows up at these kinds of things. Who shows up at these kind of things? What do you think? Well, here come the results. All right, we have a really nice variety of participants today. So we've got staff members as the leading constituent with us. At almost half of our participants here are members of the staff, but not executive directors. Another 28% are actually the CEOs, executive directors, and then we have some board members. Thank you, board members, for your volunteer time and being with us, and other volunteers as well on the call. We really appreciate you. Our nonprofits wouldn't be able to do the work we do without your time, talent, and treasure, so we appreciate all of you. Well, no matter what your capacity is, we welcome you and thank you for being with us today. It's time now for us to move into our 10-minute facilitated conversation. So let's go ahead and do that. We are going to begin with our program conversation with Alex Acuña from Valley Nonprofit Resources. Alice, if you would take us forward, please, and I'll give you a 2-minute warning.
Gotcha. Okay, so welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to collaborate and to be listening today. Just a quick note, Valley Nonprofit Resources is a program of the College of Social Behavioral Sciences at Cal State Northridge, and we provide a monthly e-blast with resources from the college as well as from the community. And we do monthly free educational workshops. So if you'd like to present, if you'd like to attend, if you want to be on the mailing list, please reach out. I included my email in the chat. I'm so happy to moderate the conversation that we're all going to have about program. And that can include starting your nonprofit. It could be issues of operating during this climate. And if it has anything to do with measuring impact, as we know, funders of all types want to know what kind of difference are we making in our communities, in our respective areas of concern. And so if you're having a challenge with, I know we're doing good work, but I'm not sure how to measure it, I'm not sure how to tell the story to funders, please share your concerns or share what's worked for you. Like, I stumbled upon this and it's been working great. We really want to hear from you. So let's take a moment to just think about our questions, our examples, and I would just love to hear from you. Just so you know, I'm a total research nerd. I'm a retired professor of social work, and I used to teach the research courses to master's level social workers. And it was my challenge to try to make it not just interesting, but engaging for them to really get excited about it. And I do get excited. I think that if we are making change, that there's absolutely a way to measure it. And so I'm happy to consult with you about what that might look like. But anyway, I'd like to open it up now to the floor. Daring souls, please take one for the team. What are your questions, challenges, best practices around programming, around operating, measuring impact, anything program related? And I see a lot of staff on this call, so please step up. Tell us what's on your mind right now.
Alex, I don't know if you're able to see Jeff Fox raise his hand. I can facilitate if that's needed. Yeah. Okay,
Please,
Jeff,
yeah.
please.
Thank you.
I've joined you guys here today. We're DBSA Northridge, Depression Bipolar Support Alliance. We're an active suicide prevention support group, peer support groups. I've been running these groups for 18 years, and it hasn't been hard. I want to call them, they have every good intention, but we have placeholders. So these are some of our peers that sit on our board, and they're really unfamiliar with what the board does. So we haven't been successful in fundraising or doing anything else. There's not a lot of fundraising that we need except for basic operating costs, which are minimal. But we also want to do outreach. We want to join different organizations that need our services, that can promote our services. And again, we need a mentor, somebody helping us develop a board and the programs. Like I said, I've been doing this for almost 18 years. I have Parkinson's, so I'm starting to drop out a little bit. And the people that are coming up are great. They're committed. They're dedicated. We just need some help. It's a great program. And, it's been around, the DBSA has been around for about 40 years. We're the best kept secret in town. I think we're one of the largest peer support groups for depression and bipolar. And basically, I can talk forever, but I'll shut up right now.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you for those 18 years. I know our community has benefited from your dedication. Please reach out to me. My email's in the chat. I have some ideas for you. Also, just a quick hand, how many of you are also, just quick raise of hands, either electronically or physically, how many of you are also challenged by board development, fundraising, and outreach? I just want to show you that you're not alone. We could totally create a committee like a study group, just to look at those issues. But thank you for bringing that forward. Let's definitely chat one-on-one. I see another hand raised. Go ahead, sir.
Abu Bakr?
Yes.
Me? Hi, thank you very much. I am from New York Life. Just want everybody to know that we are not just an insurance company. We are a company that also have a lot of support for nonprofit organization in terms of fundraising, resources to network. New York Life is a very good platform. Last week, my big success was I was able to bring the sponsorship of New York Life to the American Diabetes Association. So New York Life is now one of the biggest sponsors of the American Diabetes Association. We are going to give them a grant, and we can do the same thing for all the nonprofit organizations and also help them in their growth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for contributing that. Anybody else? I don't know why, but I feel like my heart is on the clock. I keep looking for Sonia to show me the 2-minute warning. But
It's almost been 2 minutes. Let's look in the chat as well and see what's there. But we've still got a little bit of time, so no worries there.
Okay.
Just looking in the chat here to see. I see folks introducing themselves, looking for any questions.
Our biggest challenge, this is from Katina Pau. Our biggest challenge is finding grants, donors, etc., for a nonprofit organization that supports individuals with intellectual disabilities teaching life skills.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. And then, okay, let me, thank you for that. I'm gonna type it in the chat again.
And to that point on grants, so one of the resources that we've put together at the Alliance is a list of resources for nonprofits, and it includes a list of some places where we can do some grants research. So I'll put in the chat here, economicalliance.org/assistance. But let's go ahead and, well, we will have a segment on fundraising also, so we'll come back to that. And maybe everyone throw in the chat some of the resources that you know. There's a grant station for fundraising. There's open grants, Cal grants. So that's all in a resource guide that you'll see at economicalliance.org/assistance.
And I also wanted to say, I put in the chat, every year VNR compiles and reviews to make sure that the contact information is current, a resource directory of consultants specifically working with nonprofits, including grant writing. So you can download the document in the chat. It's in there now. It's called VNR Resource Directory. So please check that out. Feel free to call. I always recommend chatting with at least 2 or 3 people before making a decision about who's the best fit for you.
Fantastic. And with that, there's just a couple more seconds, Alex. So maybe your closing comments. And everyone remember, this is just the beginning of a conversation. This is sort of a needs assessment. Put your ideas in the chat, and then we follow up after to answer things if they haven't been answered on our call. And back to you, Alex.
Yes, I'm just so happy to see everybody here participating either verbally or in the chat, whatever feels comfortable. I just put my email in the chat again. Please feel free to reach out if you have individual questions or concerns or challenges, and let's just start to have a conversation, consult, work together. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Alex. That was awesome. Really appreciate that facilitated conversation here. I see that one of our participants, Miriam, says our biggest challenge is the people power, board members, volunteers, and funding for startups. So that's something that's of interest. We've got from Donna Candid, provides access to the Foundation Center for free for 1 year if you get your profile to gold level. That's gold right there. So thank you for that. And then I believe, Abubakar, you were talking about a grants program that your company does. If your company offers nonprofit grants, then please put the info for the foundation in the chat, and that would be wonderful. And then maybe people can reference you as an employee who is involved with the nonprofits in our region. Thank you for that. So our next facilitated conversation will be on marketing and fundraising. So this is really very great. We've gotten it started already, and indeed we knew that it would be one of the most pressing and of interest topics. So marketing in terms of digital marketing, fundraising, Marianne Haverhill with Community Foundation of the Valleys, if you would take it away for us.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sonia, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. Great to see all of you and hear from you. There's lots and lots to cover in terms of marketing and fundraising. So I certainly welcome any suggestions, questions, whatever in the chat. But I thought I'd just start the conversation with a quick story from my experience. I've been involved in the nonprofit sector for 40 years. And so I've done a lot of different kinds of fundraising. But let me give you one example of a very difficult situation I was in, because it might connect with something that you're doing. We had decided as an organization we're going to do 2 fundraisers a year, one big fundraiser and then a smaller fundraiser at a different time of the year. But there was a restaurant that's approached us. The couple who owned the restaurant had been regular donors for a long time, not big donors, but regular. And they wanted to do one of these restaurant fundraisers. And, typically those don't raise a whole lot of money. And I was kind of aware of that, but I didn't want to turn these donors down. And, anyway, but they kept demanding more and more. And, they wanted flyers, and they wanted all kinds of stuff to promote this event. And sure enough, bottom line, it brought in $200 or $300 with a lot of time. In retrospect, I think what I might have done that would have been better and easier for us is if I had asked this restaurant to be a sponsor of one of our program events, something smaller. In your context, it might be a turkey giveaway, or it might be a back to school activity, or whatever it might be, but something along that line where not a lot of risk. We were already going to create a flyer. It wouldn't be hard to add their name to the flyer. And then they could come if they wanted to that day and say hi to everybody. It would give them some good publicity, but very little work for us. So all that to say, fundraising can be very time consuming and draining. But so how do you streamline your efforts to make sure that you're maximizing whatever effort you have to put into a fundraiser? So I'll just start with that, but certainly any kind of fundraising questions or comments are welcome.
Thank you, Marianne. That was a great example. We have a question from Schmitag.
Oh, that's Andrea Schmidt. How are you? My question is for Marianne and Sonia, actually. So it's a challenging time economically in LA and in the Valley as well. I just read, unfortunately, that the Airtel Hotel is closing, and you work with many businesses and help create this vibrant business community in the Valley. How can nonprofits continue to develop those relationships with small businesses if they are struggling in this economy? What are they telling you that still works with them to build those solid relationships so that we can create partnerships for sponsorship? I would love to know the answer to that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Good one. Marianne, do you want to take that or shall I?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that is important for nonprofits is to actively engage with the business community. Join the chamber, join the Economic Alliance, join Valley Industry and Commerce Association, whatever it is, where you're regularly in touch with board members. Now, that's not to say I would never, in those contexts, directly ask somebody for money. But what did happen through my involvement in those organizations over the years when I was running the social service agency was that at Christmas time, all of a sudden these checks showed up from the people that I was in touch with. And sometimes they were very generous, and sometimes they got their whole family involved, and sometimes they got their business involved. So I would encourage you to be out there. And even though it seems like we've got so much to do right now, it's really critical to be out there with your name and your organization name, making those connections that ultimately, and of course, then it is easier to ask for sponsorships as well because you already have a relationship. You've been going every month to the chamber or whichever organization you choose to be involved in. But just make sure that you're connected on a regular basis with businesses and not just writing grant proposals to their corporate office.
That is great feedback. I would completely agree with what Marianne just said. You know, fundraising has always been about relationships and largely dependent upon relationships. And when the economy gets tough and times of uncertainty, I think it becomes even more important. And so as much as we may be inclined to stay in our office and dash off an email, I'm definitely guilty of that. It's like you can get so much more done, it seems anyway, but you have to do that. And you also have to make time to be there in person. I think something else that's really important for us to know about is what's happening with our economy and sort of knowing what companies and what industries are still doing well in light and despite everything going on. So one of the things that the Alliance can offer not only our business community, but our nonprofit community is a little bit about the thumb on the pulse of what's happening here locally and what's thriving. So I would encourage our nonprofits to get close to those companies, those industries that are currently doing pretty well and growing, I guess I would say. So we've got AI, right? We've got AI in Glendale, which is a tech hub. We've got in the Valley, we've got a fair amount of technology. Our major industries are healthcare, entertainment, we've got manufacturing, especially like aerospace manufacturing, and that really parlays itself into technology applications. So we've got medical device companies like Medtronics, and then we've got all the smaller businesses that are in their supply chain that want to be near Medtronics. For example, we've got Aerojet Rocketdyne in aerospace manufacturing. And so we've got the supply chain, all the tech companies that supply those major companies. And similar to entertainment in Burbank, we've got the big companies, Warner Brothers, and then we've got all the suppliers that want to be near Warner Brothers. So AI companies look at cybersecurity companies, be looking at them, software development, e-commerce companies. We're going to be featuring the CEO of Evite at our January regional summit that we're going to be doing soon. So getting into those tech companies, the financial tech companies, fintech companies like PayScout is a company that's based here. It's kind of like PayPal, but it's not, and it's based here in the Valley. A great company. Healthcare and life sciences, biotech, they're growing and they're looking to expand their footprint. They want to be considered a good corporate citizen. So biotech, biomanufacturing, pharmaceutical companies that are based here, like right around Woodland Hills, we've got a lot of them there. And then energy and infrastructure, renewable energy companies and other kinds of things. So, we can talk more about that later, but I would say having a strong board with representation from these growing industries is a good way, because the board members are the most committed to success. So if we get them on the board, then they'll be likely to give and help us get other people to give to. I took a really long time saying that, so I'm going to give this topic an extra minute. I see your hand there, Abubakar. I do want to give a chance to anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak yet. Is there anyone who has a comment or question about what's been talked about so far, marketing and fundraising related?
Just one quick thing.
Okay. Yes, Abubakar, very quick. What's your comment or question?
We are sponsoring the American Diabetes Association, not only limited to the grant we offer them, but we also show to nonprofit some other financial technique that will allow them to raise more money outside the traditional grant.
Yes.
And this is very important right now because of the resources are getting very scarce. So we need now more financial engineering and technique to allow all these companies to raise money. And that's what we do. We sell everyone here. We are open to talk to them. We are open to show them how to raise money outside the grant.
Thank you for that. We bring up an interesting point. Planned giving is another area. I don't know if you are doing a lot of in planned giving. It's an area where a lot of fundraisers, I think, shy away from because it can be very technical. But if you have the right advisors, like financial advisors, legal advisors, CPAs that you work with, you can conceivably help your funders to think in the long term about how they can consider your nonprofit in their will, in the trusts, and then hopefully we can alleviate the need for annual fundraising, because we will have endowments that will fund our operations. I want to go back to Marianne to see if you had anything else you would like to share before we move on to a different topic. Marianne?
I think I'm okay for now.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love the example that you brought. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but I just want to say too, in terms of the community foundation, I guess this would be one comment. One of the things that I've been actively doing has been going out in the community, and we're in these business organizations that I belong to, and basically saying to people, now is the time to make personal charitable gifts to the causes that you believe in. We set up donor advised funds. That's much more involved. But for all of the charities that we support and acknowledge and value in our community life together, it's really critical that we raise the bar for charitable giving from individuals throughout the Valley. So really trying to be your spokesperson, if you will, to let people know that they really do need to be generous personally and not just rely on their company to give sponsorships, but to actually pull out their credit card or their checkbooks or whatever and donate personally. So that's kind of one of my little campaign pitches that I've been working on the last few months.
Wonderful. Appreciate that. Marianne, you're the best. Really, really appreciate the insights. I noticed also that there's a comment in the chat, maybe Marianne, we want to talk about before we move from this topic.
Okay.
Donna asks, how are people dealing with the loss of federal funds due to DEI practices? They've been offered a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts, the NEA, but need to decline as they're not going to abide by the required restrictions. How can we use this to help with fundraising and make up for this loss? There's a really important question there. There's some interesting dynamics between the federal government and the state, right? The state seems to be swooping in to cover some of those gaps. They're also holding universities and nonprofits accountable to hold strong, as you have done. So maybe the state would come in and support. Marianne, any other thoughts on that?
No, I wonder if Alex do you have any thoughts about that? Because it might be that you, especially in terms of the whole DEI thing, maybe you've been thinking about that and doing something on that.
Yeah, I was going to reach out to you privately, Donna. It just seems like I love your commitment. I love your setting that boundary there. And I wonder if there's another way to approach this, because DEI is not illegal. Executive orders are not laws. And so I'm just wondering if there's another way. But obviously,
I'll just say the contract requires checking a box saying that we will abide by the executive order.
So having said that, I would speak to Jeff Fox's. So I would speak to legal counsel, which I am not, about what that would look like in your context, because I don't know that doesn't mean that you can't serve
Right.
veterans and, people of color and women. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think it's a nuanced question. I would not want to advise you on it, but I would say I would speak to legal counsel about what that would look like because
Yes, right now the government's closed, so we can't even talk to the NEA. But we're the case is in court. We're hoping that it will be overturned and we'll be able to accept it. We're basically just stalling. But we also see this as an opportunity for messaging about this. We talked to the county representatives. They have declined federal funding so that they can continue their practices. And it'd be really hard to say that we aren't a DEI organization with hiring practices based on that as well. So
thank you for the question, Donna, and those thoughts, Alex. Really appreciate that. Also, Marianne, maybe you can put in the chat. Gail is asking for info about the donor advised funds at the community foundation. So it'd be great to be able to share that for everyone to see in the chat. Meanwhile, we'll move on to our third and final 10-minute facilitated conversation around admin. So thank you, Marianne, for that and for everyone, all the great feedback so far on admin. So here we want to talk about planning. There's so many of these competing things to talk about, priorities, I guess you could say, to think about, talk about. There's planning, short-term and strategic planning. There's governance and how our boards operate, what policies we have, budgeting, HR, the spaces we operate in. I thank you so much, Lydia Floyd from Hands for Hope and Simple Data Nonprofit Consulting to shed some light for us on that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for being here. This is wonderful to get together as nonprofit leaders. I am a nonprofit leader of an organization called Hands for Hope LA for 25 years, and I'm also a consultant with Simple Data Nonprofit Consulting, and I will be working with Valley Nonprofit Resources starting in January as well. So I wear a number of hats, but through my consulting company, I wanted to mention that I teach a class called Nonprofit Management Basics. And these are some things that you need to know in the administration arena around running a nonprofit. But this, it answers questions. So I want to just, give you some questions because some of you are hesitant to ask questions. So I want to give you some food for thought in that training class. What I do is talk about, the what and what is it that you're doing, and can you describe what you do in a sentence, in a paragraph? What does your success look like? What is your vision? So, those are some things you want to talk about if you're starting a nonprofit, and there may be a few on this call that are doing that or new to the nonprofit arena. And then the why are you doing what you're doing? Who's your target population? What do they need? Have you really examined that and done the research and the homework? There is homework to be done when you're starting a nonprofit or you're working in a nonprofit area. What's the long-term significance of your program? And Alejandra is a master at program evaluation, so I really recommend that you contact her about that. And Marianne about fundraising. She's an expert, and you want to reach out to the experts. You want to reach out to the people that are offering their services to you to talk to you about these things. Just a quick conversation sometimes, but these questions that I'm mentioning, if you need help with them, please reach out and ask. The why, like I said, do you know the why for each of your programs and your goals? You need to have a strategic plan for each area. So that's something that you want to think about. And then the who's involved, who's on the bus. You want to have the right people on the bus. You want to have the right board, and there's some board development topics that we could definitely discuss, in terms of, looking at your grid and who it is that you're bringing to your organization. The volunteers, are they committed? Are they in it because of you? Or are they just doing it to help? Do they care? The staff, can you afford staff? Can you afford HR? Can you afford, do you know about HR? Do you know what you you need to know to have payroll? Are you ready for that? Some of you already have that in place. That's great. Are you doing everything associated with it? There's all types of rules regarding how you treat your employees. So I recommend waiting for HR, waiting to have payroll until you're really ready. And then, the primary group is your donors. Are they faithful? Are they fickle? Do they need to be cultivated like a garden? You have to reach out to these people. You can't just ask for money. It's building relationships with people, like Marianne mentioned, in joining chambers and connecting with these people. So there's things that you need to know, and there's foundations, there's corporate funders. What's the difference? Do you know? What do they need from you? You're helping them to meet their goals. So you have to be prepared to do that. And then, partners, do you have partners? Do you collaborate with people? These are things that you want to discuss and think about. But the one that I'm here to talk about today is the how. And the how is really administration. Do you have curriculum? Do you have policies and procedures? A blueprint that anyone can follow? Do you have your finances in order? Do you use QuickBooks? Do you have a valid bookkeeper, a full charge bookkeeper, a person who understands what they need to do? I'm sorry.
Oh, what did
And
I
then,
do?
what is your cash flow?
I need somebody to scan something for me.
Okay, you want to mute that person? Thank you, Sharon. So yeah, you want to your cash flow, what do you need to run your program? Are you looking at that monthly? Do you know what you're going to be able to do down the road? Your banking, do you have, free checking? Do you have restricted and unrestricted accounts? Do you reconcile your bank every month with your bookkeeper? Do you have reports, the proper reports that you should be giving to your board every quarter or whenever your board meets? And legal, do you have your bylaws in order? Do you have to redo your articles of incorporation? Do you have background checks on employees? If you're working with children or seniors, you may need to have that. Do you have insurance? There's all types of insurance that is required, especially from government grants. They require cybersecurity insurance now. There's things that you need to know. So do you have some of these things in order? And those of us that are on this call that's initiated this call can help you with a lot of this. If you need help, please just reach out. Do you have professional liability? Do you have directors and officers insurance for your board? Are you protecting the people that are in leadership? And can you handle the monthly expenses for these? Are you quite ready? Do you have a budget, and do you have them in your budget? Do you have a communications plan? Do you have a website? Do you have e-blasts? Do you have YouTube? There's so many things to consider, and you don't need to be overwhelmed by them. You're doing these one step at a time, but the first step is knowing what it is that you need. So paperwork, how do you keep your paperwork? Are you paperless? Do you there's so much more to think about in terms of administration of your organization. And I've just touched upon some, but I'm really interested to hear what your challenges are in those areas. And if you'd like to list those, or write something into the chat, or just go off mute and ask your question, or raise your hand, and we'll ask what you need to know. Okay, we've got a few. More people are put board development is a challenge, and it is definitely a challenge. And so I think Marianne touched upon fundraising. There's a fundraising component for your board, but do they give and get? Do they understand that their two primary roles are to govern effectively and gather resources? I call it the G's. So govern effectively, gather resources, and then give and get. Are they doing that? If they're not, they're wonderful, and they may be on your advisory council, but it's contagious to have a board member who's not doing what everyone should be doing. So board development is something to discuss. You can have a board retreat. You can have a training for your board. You want to constantly train these people that are in leadership. Train yourself. Center for Nonprofit Management has classes. I'm still taking a supervisor class because there are things that we still need to know, and it's a lifelong learning effort to run a nonprofit because things are changing. It's fluid right now, the political climate, all these things that we need to understand and know. So administration is definitely something to think about. And my website I listed here, I think I put it in the chat, but I'll put it in again, and you can find out anything more you need to know about what we are able to do for you individually. But I know Valley Nonprofit Nonprofit Resources is a place to start. Valley Economic Alliance is a place to start. And the Community Foundation of the Valleys reaching out to any of us, and we can direct you towards what you might need to know and how you might need to work on your administration in the future. Did anyone have any questions? Sonia, can you facilitate that?
I see there's a question from Jeff about, is there a cost to use Simple Data? But I'm not sure I understand the question.
Simple Data is the consulting company that I run, and I put my information in the chat, and I'm putting it in again. You can contact me. You can contact Valley Nonprofit Resources, see what free resources are available to you. The cost is not something that, is one set cost. Cost is something that we have to discuss. But I know that there's ways to help, ways for all of us to help you. And so we want to get together. Gathering is the first step, but I think we can all help each other. There's things that you know that you can share with me, so or share with us, right? So any other questions or things that we can help?
I did put, I don't see other questions there on governance and the topic we're on, or any recent questions. I see a lot of really great contact information and observations. So really helpful. I did put in the chat the enrollment form for our free business assistance program. If people want to get nonprofit consulting that way, that's a good start to get like kind of an assessment and then figuring out other things. We've got the Association of Fundraising Professionals, which has a San Fernando Valley chapter. There's a small membership fee to join that group, but the link is in the chat. We put that there. And then there's a group called LA Fundraisers Network, and they have speakers from time to time. I helped organize a program on planned giving recently, because that's an area of interest for me. And I've got some really great resources on planned giving. If anyone is interested in moving in that direction, definitely hit me up about that. But they have a Slack channel where a lot of fundraisers just share their information. It's free to join Slack, but it is another thing to join. And then they have monthly get-togethers, usually on Zoom or Google Meet, something like that, virtually. And I put in the chat a registration for their next meeting, which is completely free. So fantastic. We've covered a lot, and we are going to start to close now. I love what you said, Lydia. Thank you so much for facilitating that segment about govern, give, or get. I love it. It's really very important. I think that what we're doing now, again, is we're gathering information, getting our arms around the needs so that we can share this with our funders, share this with our executives and residents who can put together programs that can meet these needs. So this is the beginning of a conversation. I think it's really important to get on the Alliance's mailing list. The fact that you're here maybe indicates that you already are on our list, but maybe you're with Valley Nonprofit Resources list, or you're on Lydia's list or Marianne's list. So we're going to be doing these convenings on a quarterly basis. Of course, there's the annual convening in person. We want to do more of these virtual. So make sure you go to economicalliance.org, and then you can sign up for the mailing list at the bottom of the homepage. There's a place where you can, and then you'll get all of our information. You'll get information for for-profit companies, for nonprofit companies, just everything the Alliance is working on. Now about open discussion. How about, are there any other anyone who hasn't already spoken, have any pressing comments or questions for the group to bring forth at this time? Brandon. Hi, Brandon. Welcome, welcome. You have the floor.
So hello, everyone. I'm Brandon Hildreth. I am the academic dean over adult education and workforce development at Los Angeles Valley College. And so I just wanted to do a quick plug to really encourage you all to work with your community colleges. We just recently created a nonprofit management certificate program, which Alejandra helped create. And so we have two certificates, one an overview of nonprofits, but also those who might be interested in management. And just, I can't stress this enough. We are equipped to create trainings for your staff, for your clients, for your community members. And these are all free for you all. So there's at no cost. It takes about a year for us to develop curriculum. So all of these great ideas that were shared, we are here to be responsive to those needs. And so all it takes is really reaching out to me. I think Josh is I think I saw Josh, our adult ed coordinator, who's on the call as well. And we want to hear from you. We want to know what your needs are, because these certificates that we will be launching in the spring are in direct response to Alejandra's survey that I think that she sent out a couple of years ago around what are some of the needs that have been expressed by those within the community. So I don't want to take up any more time. I'm glad that this is a quarterly meeting, and and hopefully we can come out and share more about our programs. But I'll drop it in the flyer, and we're also looking for faculty to teach in the spring. So, and all of that information is going to be on the flyers. And so I just wanted to share that. Please work with your community colleges. We are here to support you.
Fantastic, Brandon. Thank you. The college is a fantastic supporter and partner with the Alliance, and we love to hear from you. Thank you. Thank you. And Nico, welcome. Would you like to share a little bit?
Yes, thank you. My question is regarding if anyone has any resources and this is in my capacity as a president of a local nonprofit in the Northeast Valley. We have a really major fundraiser that we ended up costing us around $60,000 this year because we had to cancel it because of everything happening. And I'm wondering how to address that, or if there's any direct relief that anyone might be aware of. This is a huge public event that would have been downtown LA and just did not feel safe to do so. And it would have taken place 2 weeks ago. So I'm wondering if there are any resources that folks are aware of for specifically, we had this fundraiser, it's huge, and we expect it to raise us 100,000, but now it costs us 60,000 this past year.
So sorry to hear that, Nico. I'm gonna see what I can think of. Mark, did you have an answer to that, or did you have another question? No. Okay, Nico. Gosh, I'm trying to think if anything comes to mind. I'm just looking real quick here for the county, right? The county Economic Opportunity Grant Program. They have programs from time to time, but it looks like they just closed one May 31st, and of course they're super competitive, those programs as well. I might look at City of LA also. Even though they've all got really challenging budget situations, they have come up with, like HUD, they had some leftover money from the Community Development Block Grants, CDBG funding through HUD, and sometimes they throw up some small business relief funds, or Lendistry is another one that a lot of folks, like the county, goes through to manage their and administer their grant programs. So you might look at Lendistry, and you could look at a small business relief fund, and I'm just trying to think of anything else. The LA Regional Small Business Development Center Network has economic opportunity grants, right? So that's another one that's like the SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers, but that's federally funded, so I doubt that they've got anything going on. The only thing I can think about is the City of LA has a legacy program. They're doing a grant for legacy businesses. I can't remember how long that is. Maybe businesses that are over 20 years old, and it would be worth seeing if nonprofits could qualify for that.
I did ask that question of Paul Kokorian, who's managing that program, and he said nonprofits are not eligible. Only for a certain portion of it we are, but not the grant portion.
I see. So we'll keep our ears and eyes open for you, Nico. Thanks for the question. And looks like our last question, Mark, please. Hi, Mark. So great to see you. You do so much in our entertainment industry. What's your comment or question?
Well, my comment is, and this comes actually from January during the fires we had when it was on one of these Zooms. People were saying, how can people get involved entertainment wise? Financially right now, most people working in entertainment are not making much. But on the other hand, a lot of people have time and have energy. So what I'm thinking is, and I've been reaching out to people about this, is if you know somebody, doesn't matter what part of it is, they know people, they can help out, they can help with fundraising, they can help organize, they can help promote. Sometimes your best names to have for an event are not the huge names, but the people that you would say would be, like if you're at an autograph signing convention or something, because everybody has a phone and they can always look up that person and find out what they did, and then they get excited. So I'm just saying, don't be shy, don't be precious. You know, if you know someone who's a caterer, fine. If you know someone who, like somebody I know is working on Property Brothers in our complex. They told me stuff, fine, just whatever. You don't know, just reach out. Somebody will help in other ways. Maybe not financially right away, but with just helping raise your profile and your image.
Thank you, Mark. Very much appreciate that. Well, good. We are at time, and this has been a phenomenal conversation. I think that we want to do it again, and there are some other resources. So I will go ahead and make sure that we send out the chat to everyone who registered today so that you'll have all those great resources. There's a lot of good information there, and let's keep the conversation going. Anything else that Alex or Lydia or Marianne, you might want to share? No, we're good. Or Luis, any other final words? Thank you for staying to the end, Luis. I know you're probably on other calls too. Hi, Luis. Thanks for being with us. Any other final thoughts you have to share or any questions?
I just wanted to say what a confirmation that we need to have more conversations. Thank you for your comments, your questions, for the support. As Sonia said, let's keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex. And Luis, I don't know, I saw you come off mute. If you had any final thoughts you wanted to share, feel free.
I was going to say exactly what Dr. Acuña said, and she took it from me.
Isn't that great? Great minds think alike. Well, thank you everyone for coming. You have proven that we've got traction on this and we need this very much, and we're going to keep it going. We're here for you and want to make sure that you keep in touch with the Alliance, keep in touch with all of us, Valley Nonprofit, Simple Data, and Hands for Hope, and the Community Foundation of the Valleys. Reach out to Luis if you think he can be of support, and let's be for one another what we need to be to help our communities to thrive and grow. Thank you all for a great day today, and yeah, take good care, and we'll talk to you soon. See you next time.
Sonia. Thank you, Sonia, for facilitating this.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Lydia. Sure thing. My joy. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.